has been recommended that the Community Relations Committee will start this quarter. I'm sorry I don't have an exact date, but I'm in the process of sending an email to each one of the principals asking for citizens or parents. But Dr. Sylvia did give me your information and that you will be invited to that Community Relations Committee. I'm sorry that it hasn't started yet.
Well, he has sent you the messages, because I know he has, because he CC'd you on my email. And you haven't had the decency to contact me to even explain what you just did tonight. Wait a minute, and one more thing.
Okay, good, but we have to move on.
Unless there's improvement by the school committee, I'm not voting for anybody when they come up to run.
Anything on the budget, please? Can we just keep it to the budget? Yes, go ahead.
One response is you said hungry students because they don't fill out the forms. I think the comment of hungry students is students were hungry to learn more. I'm not sure it was related to food because in the school system nobody goes unfed. I believe that's.
Thank you. Anything else to be said on the budget? Yes. Could you please come up and state your name? Either place.
Yes, my name is Donna Ashley.
Hi, Donna.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm not a parent of a child in the Wareham schools right now. I did. I had my son who went from K through 12 in Wareham school systems.
And he's a credit to the system.
He is a credit to the system and a credit to his mother, too. But that's another, and I'm embarrassing him right now. But I just want to say that, for involvement, even though I'm not a parent at this time, I take it very, very seriously, and I'm very lucky and blessed to be able to serve the school in the town of Wareham. Presently on the Wareham High School School Council still, even though he graduated 2 years ago as a community member. And that's a privilege in this town. The reason it's a privilege is because the town has worked under very difficult budget situations for many years. I've been at many school committee meetings. I've been at many town meetings. And I want to commend the school committee on this budget, and I know it was difficult, and I know that it's hard for taxpayers. We all pay taxes in this town. We love this town, and I agree with what the school committee member said. There's no town I would rather live or would live in but Wareham. I want to commend all of the board members that are here for their willingness to work together. I think that, Emily, the school department has been more than willing, and I think if more parents were willing and more community members were willing to get involved, they would have more of the help that they need. I'm now retired and have all kinds of time, and I'm more than willing to help out any of you in any capacity I can do and serve in. But I agree also with your member who spoke on the diversity in this town. We need to come together once and for all. We come together when there are tragic things that just happened this week.
Yes, we do.
People will be coming together in love and in unity. And unfortunately, in the past few years, we've had 7 young people, 7 students of the class of 2009 and 2010 that have passed away already by accident or by other situations. And that's a heartbreak. But I'll tell you, the school committee, the school members, the principals, the administration, when you go to these times and when you support these times, they're right there too. And that's the good part. Even though we're a government and a town government that may disagree at times, we also love our town and we love our people. And when someone hurts, they hurt. The young people in the past 2 years have seen so much of this, but they've had good education. I could not have raised my son in a better school system than Wareham School Systems had I been able to afford to put him in public schools. And I want to commend the school committee on this budget presentation. I know how difficult it was. And I don't know if Dr. Rabinovich is going to get hollered at by other people in town. But I want to say to you, Dr. Rabinovich, thank you for the hard work that you have done in the past, not just the past few years you've been school committee chairman, superintendent of schools. But I was up all night with a sick chihuahua last night. I'm tired. But also in the number of years that this man has served in Wareham. When my son started in the middle school, it was when the first year the middle school was being renovated. And the principal of that school that year was Dr. Rabinovich. And he couldn't have had a better man to be under that has continued to start his adult life. So I want to commend each and every one of you on the school committee. I want to commend Dr. Rabinovich and commend this budget. And I want to assure you of my support. I just also finished in serving on a committee with Mr. Luzon on the bullying situation. And I will probably be on school council until I'm there in a cane.
We'll hope that's a long time.
But, you know, I don't see myself leaving there in case I get kicked off. And that doesn't seem to be happening. I can't seem to get fired from the job.
Thank you.
I want to commend you all, and I want to let you know that, you know, you have my support here and at town meeting.
Thank you very
and
much.
And I do commend the selectmen. I know you've got a rough job, and I do my best to support this town in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you. Anyone else, questions or comments? Please identify yourself.
Bob Brusso.
It's all set.
Is it all set? It's on?
It's all set.
My name is Bob Brusso. I think most of you know that until April, I had served 15 years on the school committee and also 34 years as an educator in this community. I guess I would like to start this evening by asking all of us in here to give a round of applause to these people who are elected or appointed for the job that they do on our behalf, and they take so much criticism, and I want to say thank you very much. That is not done often enough. We have a tendency to yell at each other, to criticize, to tear down instead of to build up. And I've been in this community since 1960. And I can probably say, a lot has changed and a lot has not changed. And the part that has not changed is that Wareham never has been a wealthy community. And unfortunately, it comes back to haunt us at times like this, when the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is looking at possibly, the governor says, a $2 billion structural deficit in the state budget. The rubber is going to hit the road someplace, be it in local aid for the community, be it in Chapter 70. We are going to be hurting. However, I'd like to hit some good news. I know a few people have listened the last 3 or 4 years. Massachusetts school children, grades 4 and 8, on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, are #1 in the country in both math and English, our students. You've seen these figures here tonight. We are going up, but there is a gap. The gap is caused because Wareham is not as wealthy a community. And Massachusetts, on the international test, our students last year performed #1 in math and language arts. I'm not making those figures up. They were announced on all of the national programs. You can see that and you can hear it yourself. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a problem here. We're dealing with our own structural deficit. I hope it's not $4.5 million, because if it is, members of the board and citizens of this town, we are going to devastate this community. We can't allow that to happen. Our problem is that Massachusetts is the 3rd wealthiest state in the country. Our tax system is terrible as to how we fund public services. You and I can't change that here. We're not going to change it. It's going to have to take place at the state level. But all I do know is that we have got to work together. I just want to throw one thing out. In 1980, I was here when Prop 2.5 passed. Those first 2 or 3 years, let me tell you, it was unbelievable. Over half the teachers in the school system every April got pink slips. We didn't know who was going to survive. There were rallies in Boston. A lot of you were here. The pink slips that were flying. We did not have the money. What was going to happen in Wareham? You know, there were some public-minded citizens. They created an ad hoc committee made up of 2 members of the Board of Selectmen, 2 members of the school committee, and 2 members of the FinCom, if my memory serves me correctly. They sat down with that budget mess. They came to agreements upon themselves, and they came to town meeting with that ad hoc report, and you know, the town meeting went with it and passed it. And that went on for a couple of years, and then the process disappeared. Maybe we're at that stage again when an ad hoc committee of people from these boards have got to get together and work together to deal with the issues we're dealing with. But we can't continuously shortchange our children, because that gap is going to continue because we are not a wealthy community. We don't have the money, and the state recognizes that also. We do work with our state legislators. And the 15 years I was on that school committee, I can't tell you how many times every year I went to Boston with the School Committee Association, sat in Susan Williams Gifford's office, in Mark Pacheco's office, sent letters, called the governor's office on these things in terms of funding. I can't do it alone. You need a chorus of 12, 13,000 people in this community. You know, there was an organizer with farmers back 100 years ago who said the problem in America with the farmers is that instead of raising more corn, they should raise more hell. And probably that's what we have to do as a community, but we've got to work together. But let's not attack each other. Let's work together with these people. I know we can solve the problem, but I hope it isn't a $4.5 million problem on the school side, because we will never, ever recover from that.
Anyone else that would like, thank you, Mr. Russo. Anyone else that would like to address the committee?
Claire Smith.
Good evening.
As difficult a time as we've had over the years with budgets and budgets cuts, I don't want people to leave here tonight and short sell the community and the education that we've given our children. I've had the privilege for the last 19 years to sit on 3 different scholarship committees. It's now scholarship application time. The applications are coming in. I have the privilege of looking to see what schools these children are applying to, what schools they're being accepted at, the packages that they are being offered because of their academic grades. We are sending children from Wareham who are being accepted to and are succeeding at Colby, at Dartmouth, at Brown, UConn, BU, MIT, Worcester Polytech. We are doing a good job at educating our students, and they are succeeding. In addition to that, as a member of the Wareham High School Alumni Association, I am in constant contact with graduates of Wareham High School who have moved all across the country and all across the world, who have become very successful. Top government leaders. One of the Wareham graduates was in charge of one of the programs that distributed aid all across every country in the world. So even with our shortfalls in our budgets, with the issues that we have trying to work it out in educating our students, I want you to leave here tonight knowing we are doing a good job, our kids are getting a good education, and they are being competitive with people from Newton, Wellesley, and all of the wealthy towns. They are succeeding. We have a young man over here I found out last week. He's made the dean's list. And that's what we're producing from this community, even though we have budget issues. So I thank you for your efforts. I thank you for your attention to the curriculum. It is paying off, and the students are doing well.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Anyone else want to address? Yes, please come forward. State your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Ellen Begley. First, an observation. It's awesome to see people wanting rather than coming and being contentious and being in opposition, that I've heard a lot of positive comments here about coming to the table and actually negotiating. That's one observation. And I have a question. I see the budget with expenditures, and my question is the only revenue available to the school department from the state and from the town, or, because I found it very helpful to see the disbursement and the income on the town side, and I wonder if that's something that could be presented to us from the school department. Does that $28 million include all grant funding and other fundings available?
To answer it, no, it doesn't, because that's not part of net school spending. So the budget that gets approved at town meeting is just for net school spending, and you are correct. What makes that up is just state revenue and from the town, local contribution.
Jeff?
I think you are asking a different question, and it's one with which I have a great deal of sympathy. On the budget subcommittee, we are actually working to put together a document that would exactly do what you're saying, which is, okay, we know where all the expenses are. Now, tell me what revenue beyond the town contribution is supporting all of those expenses. Believe it or not, it's a more difficult process than you would think, but we're getting there. We're very close. Just to give you a sense of the differences between the numbers that you see on town meeting floor, there's about $6 million that you never see that is embedded in other town expenses that is called in kind. But when most of that is the health insurance for the school employees. So you could take whatever number you see at town meeting, and then you could add another, say, $6 million, which is mostly health care. Then on top, and I'm going to look at my notes because it's as I said, it's a new document. Then, and I don't have all of these from obviously some of these would be projected, but if we look at last year, we had another approximately $3.5 million worth of grants. Some of them are what's called entitlement grants, some are competitive grants. The unfortunate part about grants is they almost always have almost exactly the same amount of spending associated with them as revenue. In other words, they don't help us with the rest of the budget. But it is still $3.5 million of added value to the town. Then we have we have one relevant non-net revolving fund, which is transportation. And that, fortunately, has produced a significant amount of money to support the transportation department, but it can only be used for transportation. And I'm told by our new transportation manager that seems to be going along fine, and we should be able to provide some support to the town from that. Not a lot, and it can only go to transportation. Then the other major revolver we have is something called school choice, which is for every child that comes here, as opposed to their town where they're a resident, versus the children that decide to go somewhere else. The net of that has almost always been a positive. And that money can support any part of the budget. That's the good news. How much is that worth? Barry,
$60,000 right now.
It's less than $100,000. It's not insignificant, but it doesn't exactly solve a budget problem. And then occasionally you get other grants that don't have strings attached. Bottom line is, sometime over the next week, I hope to have exactly what you're talking about crunched, except that some of it, of course, will be projections and estimates, because we're talking about another 6 months before the year even begins.
But that would be something that would, I think, be helpful to everybody in the town, because sometimes it's easy to have a chicken little response to, like we're talking, is it going to be a $2 million difference? Is it a $4 million difference? Is it if it's several $60,000 grants that can impact the budget, then, I don't want anybody to go into a panic mode thinking we're going to lose police officers or we're going to lose educating our children. I think that all of you, everyone that's sitting here, has a little bit more information than the rest of us do have. So as opposed to being reactive, I'm hoping that we could be proactive and get out as much information as possible to all of us so we can really make an informed decision.
The kind of transparency you're talking about, I applaud. I agree with 100%. I don't want you or anybody else at home or in the auditorium to think that at the moment it looks like it's going to help us a whole lot. it's going to help Rhonda and myself feel comfortable about the entire big picture, but it doesn't seem like it's going to help fill million-dollar budget gaps. That's the way it looks right now.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address? Anyone? Yes. Step forward. Identify yourself for the record.
My name's Michael Collins. I'm a resident of Wareham. I teach at the high school. 25 years ago, I ran for selectman in this town. I lost by a very slim margin. In my campaign, I suggested something. It's a question for the Board of Selectmen, the town administrator. Why has the tax rate in this town not been classified? We have a car town out in West Wareham. We have 2 industrial parks. We have strips that are developed to the max. Most of us pay more property taxes than McDonald's out on the highway. I know you can't answer that question, but why hasn't it been considered? Maybe additional revenue can be drawn for the community from the businesses that are making millions on its citizens. Thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
You are correct. You can't classify between business, commercial, industrial, personal property. It does develop the commercial side and push up more percentage on it, but you cannot go up more than 2.5% of the total amount that is allowed under the levy. So I acknowledge your point. 5 cities in this Commonwealth do classify between commercial, industrial, and residential, and because we have a single rate, it still doesn't change the bottom line in the end. That might change it for the profit for the residential taxpayers, which is something that to look forward in the future, but it won't change the bottom line. We're going to bring in $760,000 in change off the 2.5% levy limit and another $200,000 in new growth. I would take your question one step further and try to feed into when we get to a point where we can close the gap, are we producing workers that are going to stay in this town, buy homes, work in our commercial industrial facilities, and be the workforce of tomorrow? That's really where this is all going. When people graduate, to the moderator's point earlier, can we keep those individuals that will be graduating, going to college, and staying in the town is really a challenge for many cities and towns in the Commonwealth. But the bottom line is that you have a number that's finite. It's 2.5% that you can go to classification. It's not going to change the bottom line.
Thank you.
There was someone in the back that wanted to speak. Come on up.
Please identify yourself for the record. Okay.
I do have 4 children in the town. 2 are in the school systems at this point. I just wanted to ask the question of what exactly is a rainy day fund? Because we're talking about cutting things that are essential and are not. And in our household, rainy day fund is for ice cream and day trips. So I'm just wondering why we're talking about having to pit cars against educators as opposed to street workers, and we have a rainy day fund. So that was just all I had for a question.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
The rainy day fund is a stabilization fund that helps the town improve its fiscal stability over time. At one time, we had close to $2 million in that rainy day fund, and it was stripped out over the past decade or so, sometime in that period of time, to just about zero. What that says to the rating agencies when we go to borrow money is that we don't have any money in reserve to cover any unforeseen issues that might come up in the town. So the way you put it back in to improve your fiscal stability is the plan that we have. The financial management plan is to put it back in incrementally and to improve our fiscal stability over time so that we're going to buy money going forward for whatever it might be. It could be part of I see the School Building Assistance Authority application here, Mr. Chairman. It's going to take dollars to get that going. And I'm a big advocate to get as much as we can from the state, from the Mass School Building Authority, and been working with the superintendent and the Board of Selectmen and the school committee on that. So it does improve our ability to make sure that we can have something in reserve in case there is something that happens, and maybe we shouldn't use rainy day fund
you could call it the court of last resort, where you can go to get money to be able to solve a very difficult fiscal situation. It's up to the Board of Selectmen, and it's also up to the town meeting members to vote this in the budget in April. And I would ask you to come forward. If you don't think we should put $150,000 aside, then we'll move forward in a different direction. But I think it's fiscally prudent to do that, to replenish this account. And I believe the Finance Committee has already endorsed this concept in the years past. And I'm welcome to any suggestions that you might have going forward. Thank you.
All right, one more question, please. Oh, maybe not. Yeah. At this point in time, I'm going to suspend the public hearing. We do have one piece of business that we have to take care of. You folks are more willing to stay because it is an interest statement to renovate. Well, I'm sorry. Do I need a motion?
No, but just
I'm
suspend it, because
suspend is the wrong word.
yeah.
I now close the public hearing.
Thank you.
I would like to, just for the record, I'll have Dr. Rabinovich speak to it more specifically. Or you are speaking to it? Oh, go ahead, come on up. We are now proposing, and we need the approval of the Board of Selectmen on this, to apply to the state our interest application for construction and renovation at the Minot Forest School. And so Anna Miranda will present the facts to the Board of Selectmen, and if there are any questions, you can either ask me and I won't know the answer, or Anna Miranda.
I'll know the answer.
Go ahead.
In November 2009, we came.
We've got a lot of people leaving. I just really thank everybody.
Thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate it.
We know it was a long night. We really appreciate it being here.
And I also think it's important to give just one other thing, just to be able to thank again all the board members for coming today, for speaking, for asking their questions, and I think that we all do look forward to continuing to work together. So just to add on, thanks everyone for coming.
I didn't think anybody was leaving, but that's okay. That's very good. Thank you. And I thank everyone also. It's been a long evening, and it's a long process. So thank you again, everyone. Anna?
Okay, in 2009, November, both of the boards, Board of Selectmen as well as the school committee, endorsed the submission of the applications for the Mass School Building Assistance Authority. We've selected Minot as the priority school at this time because of just in terms of the needs. The MSBA, the Mass School Building Assistance Authority, from 2009 all the way up to this current election, intentionally chose not to process any applications. A couple of reasons given to us was, one, the waiting for the election to see what the political climate was going to be like, and two, the economy and trying to figure it out. We received notice in October that they wanted every district that had submitted an application to do what's called refresh, add any additional information, anything that could be new. The only thing that myself and Principal Siemens added for the Minot is that we do have more concerns over the electrical system, you know, in terms of the infrastructure, and we highlighted that in this application. They require an actual official vote. So I did, Michelle, do you have those copies?
Passed them over.
Okay. It has to be, basically, I need to get 2 signatures. You'll find that there's 2 documents. One says specifically school committee. It's the vote of the school committee. And then the second form says the vote of the Board of Selectmen. And then there is a third form that requires all 3 signatures on one form that I will need to get from you. The vote, if you'd like, I think the most efficient way to do it is that it does have to be a recorded, formal vote. I'd like to propose this motion for both boards, and then you can respectively vote. If you have any questions before then. Mr. Holmes?
I'm just following your documents. Are you referring to page 28?
For the form of the vote. Is that the motion that you need, is on 28 and 29?
Yes, 28, this is the selected, this is the recommended language for this vote. I have taken this language and actually put it into these two documents, Mr. Holmes.
I'm trying to find that. I can't see what that
The
is.
top, the front page, the very front
These two
page.
I have the cover letter on the front page.
Yes,
Is the motion.
is the actual motion and how it needs to be read and voted in
I thought we had approved this.
to the record.
I'm sorry, this is the first time that we've seen this, but it has here on page 2 that the submission date was 1/13/2011. So
No, that's
has this been submitted, or is this just like that you had to put it in?
I can't submit, that's the last date that I put any information into the system. This cannot be officially submitted until we get these votes. This is the same, really, process and vote that, if you recall, myself, Principal Stevens, and the principal of the Deaconess went before the Board of Selectmen and got, received the signature, did the same thing with the school board as well. So they're actually asking us to basically refresh and resubmit the application with the signatures of the current boards as well. Jeff?
Does approval of this motion in any way cause any funds to be spent? No.
No, not at this time, no.
Fine.
No,
Okay.
no.
If they
And
approve
the-
our application, then we have to come before the town and ask for money for a feasibility study.
Okay, if we respond, we just try to be loud because the Board of Selectmen has to hear it too.
Did everybody hear that?
I heard part of Dr. Rabinovich's response.
The question was whether or not by voting to accept this, whether we're committing any money. And the answer was no, we are not committing any money because this is just asking for them to approve our application. If they approve the application, then we have to come back to the town because they would then require us to do a feasibility study. That's the money that Mark talked about, that we would have to go for. And that takes a vote at town meeting.
So basically, Dr. Rabinowitz, this is just to get the application.
That's right,
in
submitted.
before the state so that we can try to get.
Correct.
Thank you.
To be considered,
Right.
to be selected, really. If this is,
Already
yeah,
did it
you submit the
once, but now
application
they're asking us
to be
refresh the
considered,
application because of how
to be
long it's
brought,
been.
to be selected
And the
as a
only way to do
project.
that is by.
Mr. Paulson?
Now, was it on that?
Just to be clear about this, I understand and the submission of the paperwork, but there is a figure that I heard at the meeting the other day as to what the cost of the feasibility study might be. And I think before people go out of here, they really ought to understand that because you might think, well, there's no cost, because that's what you heard at this meeting. But the figure I heard for the feasibility study was
Currently, about $500,000 to do a feasibility study for a school building renovation and expansion. And again, as Dr. Rabinovich did state, if we are, and again, if we are approved and brought into that cycle of approved applications, that would be the time that then we would go through, the formal process of coming before the town and looking for the funds for the
I'm
feasibility.
going to make one quick observation. It's Bob White's point earlier on about lobbying in Boston. All you have to do is walk through the school, or both schools, and you don't need a $500,000 feasibility study. Who are we kidding? Why do we put up?
He's right.
They've heard that from us, believe
we
me.
agree with you.
Rules are the
It's a
rules.
requirement.
Dick, you're
Have these
offering to do it
rules.
for 300?
But we just keep giving in all.
Okay, do we have the Board of Selectmen?
So,
Do we have Board of Selectmen, if they have any questions or comments, or do they have to meet amongst themselves? Chairman Cruz?
And we're asking if
Dr. Sylvia, could you repeat it, please?
Yeah, my question is, I want put it on you guys now, so do you need more time to talk about this, or?
Well, that's
Or
what
do
I
you
was
need
just,
any other questions answered?
well, I was saying, well, that's what I was just saying to them, because
It's
this is
getting too confusing.
first-
So why
I
don't we
mean, this
just
is the
deal with
first
you
time I've
guys? Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying to them that this is the first time, I mean, I know we had voted and everything, but, and I know that Chairman Donahue, from vacation, put this on our agenda, but this is the first time that we've seen this, was given it to us tonight. So I was trying to read and see what, what changes, if anything, were made from the last time we discussed it.
The only change, Mrs. Ekstrom, was we highlighted, we had to basically cap off an electrical outlet in each of the classrooms at the Minot Forest, because at the time when they were built, they were over sinks. And so basically, those teachers are working with one less electrical outlet, even though all the technology and the demands of, instructional teaching has increased, and you need more of that.
Move classes to Hammond because
Yeah, and again, relocated classes at Hammond, one additional class, the T1, and then another 2 first grades are there this year. So really, that's the real differences in the application from the first time that we came before the board. And I believe Michelle Ruiz had emailed the full application, like.
To the chair.
Yeah, to the chair. So we had assumed that you would have gotten it, last week and would have had time to have previewed it.
Anna, quick question. Can the vote,
Rhonda, can you hold your question? I just want to deal with selectmen right now.
and it's probably a question that they'll ask.
Oh, all
so-
right, go ahead. Good. Yeah, open them up, go ahead.
Whether this, the vote of the Board of Selectmen could wait until their next meeting? Or what are the reasons why?
The deadline for actually doing the actual physical submission in the system is I want to say January 26th. January 26th.
So you could.
For example, if this meeting had not been planned, I would have been going to the Board of Selectmen to say, well, either last week or this week's
All right,
meeting,
so-
can we come in front of you?
Absolutely, but it seems like that they haven't had a chance to take a look at it. So could we consider that the vote of the school committee happens tonight, and that since the Board of Selectmen are meeting on the 25th, that we ask that this is put on their agenda and the vote is taken that night? Could that happen?
Fine with me. Although really, nothing has really changed from the
But
last process.
Still, I mean, just like if I got something for the first time, I would want to read it over if I was going to be taking a vote on it. So since there is a meeting on the 25th, the day before,
Again, let the Board of Selectmen decide for themselves what they want to do.
sorry, just wanted to get that
We
information.
call a meeting and just go ahead and send it, because all we need is 3. One member's already left.
It's up to you guys.
Chairman Sylvia, maybe while they're thinking, I could read the motion as it is for the school committee to vote.
This is all this is to put it in so we have an opportunity to try to get this.
I'm all for doing it right now.
And
We're still gonna come back.
so if you-
While the Board of Selectmen is debating this, is there any questions from the school committee? If not, I'll have, Anna read the motion.
Read the motion for the school committee.
Quick question. The 500,000, that would be bonded, it would end up being a part of the overall project, and it would not show up as an expense for the FY12 budget. Is that an accurate statement?
I do not believe so. Now with the changes, they do not consider the feasibility portion of the study part of the project. That's a major change that happened in
They do not.
MSBA, do not.
So it can be bonded, but where would it show up in our budget?
It isn't in
It-
our budget.
it would have to
We'd
come.
go to town meeting as an
It would have to
article.
go before town
Separate
meeting.
article.
Yes.
Would that end up being a part of the FY12 budget?
No, I don't believe so. It doesn't count towards net school spending. It's a
Well,
non-net
does
school
it count
spending.
towards the town's
Towns.
budget?
Get it together.
I know it's capital, but there's a cost somewhere. $500,000, how would it impact the town's budget?
Go in front of it.
Let me take it, I'm gonna stop it right now.
If you come up with an answer, I'd like to know. It doesn't have to be tonight. Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, thank you.
All right, Anna, read the motion.
Okay. The recommended motion for the school committee is, having convened in an open meeting on January 19th, 2011, the school committee of the town of Wareham, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated January 2011 for the Minot Forest Elementary School located at 63 Minot Avenue. This describes and then they go into the following deficiencies. We're looking at replacement, renovation, modernization, elimination of existing severe overcrowding, replacement or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide a full range of programs, prevention of severe overcrowding, replacement or renovation of a building which is structurally unsound or otherwise in a condition seriously jeopardizing the educational process. Those are the actual bulleted items in the statement of interest. The last paragraph basically, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the town of Wareham School District to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. That is the motion.
Is that your motion?
Steve, so moved. I can't.
So moved.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
This is
Seeing no
just the school
discussion,
committee vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500.
Yep.
That's school committee. That's
It was
their
just our
motion.
vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want Anna
So,
to read your motion?
if you want, I can.
No, if you want her to read it, you can read it.
If you want to read it, go ahead.
I have no problem coming next Tuesday night.
No. Well, I was gonna say. Okay, having convened in an open meeting on January 19th, the Wareham Board of Selectmen for the town of Wareham, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, have voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated January 2011 for the Minot Forest Elementary School located at 63 Minot Ave, Wareham, Mass., which describes the following deficiencies and priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future, as stated below. And hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or approval of an application, the awarding of a grant or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority or commits the town of Wareham School District to filing an application for funding within the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Second.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye. 3,
All opposed?
0,
3-0.
0.
Well, he kept saying so moved, and I'm like, no, she said keep it school
Stop,
committee,
she
school
said the
committee.
boss
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
She said yesterday, motion to adjourn.
So what do we say?
So, second.
Aye.
Opposed?
All in favor?
School committee is adjourned.
All in favor?
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, again.
We need to record the vote exactly.
Yes, correct. You want to write it?
Adjourn at 9:50.
So 3, all right, 300, and then it's.
We need one more signature.